Okay, well, we are now live. So thank you very much for agreeing to talk to me today about sales methods, Trevor. Really nice to meet you, and on quite an exciting day as well with the results of the referendum. So the first thing I think would be really helpful is to find out a little bit more about what Dovetail Systems does and where you're based, please.
Great, yeah, we're a international company and jointly headquartered between here and Parsippany in New Jersey in the US. And what we do is sell enterprise payment systems to large global and regional banks. So it's on-premise software that we sell and meet the need of sort of the non-card payment requirements for those banks.
Okay. And how long? What would you say are your roles and responsibilities at Dovetail? So how did you get involved in the project?
Okay, I'm basically the head of marketing for Dovetail, and that covers everything, sort of the soup to nuts of operations, as well as sort of marketing and marketing strategy. And one of the big responsibilities is the Salesforce automation to try and make sure that we have a very good analysis of our target market, our target contacts, so that our salespeople are connected with them, as well as using that in our marketing efforts. Part of that responsibility was to work with the head of sales on our pipeline management, and so that became a big focus a few years ago as we expanded.
Yes, yeah. Okay, excellent. And when did you start speaking to Sales Methods and Richard Gilder at Sales Methods about looking at a solution to?
Yeah, I think it was probably 2.5 years ago. We started to look at how we could standardize our opportunity management, and we were looking at a number of different account management as well as opportunity management tools. We had probably looked at 3 or 4 on the market, and then I think it was in December a couple of years ago, we installed the trial of Sales Methods from the App Store in Salesforce, quickly reviewed it, and basically put in a call probably 2 weeks later to have a chat with Richard about licensing, and we contracted for the product and had it installed by the January of that year, or the following January. So it was about a 2-week evaluation, and then over the Christmas period, a bit of holiday, and then went live with that in January.
Okay, so, and I think you said that first of all you started working with OrgChart Plus, and then you added the Plan to Close product.
Yeah, we basically have all 3 products, but used in a very similar way. So we have Plan to Close, Plan to Prosper for the account management side, and OrgChart Plus. So we use and went live on all 3 products pretty much simultaneously. After we went live at our sales kickoff in the January, we realized that we needed to customize some of the questions in the Plan to Close, which is, I guess, the majority of how we use it. And so in the March, we went live with a sort of tailored set of questions for our specific needs, selling to large banks and trying to get customize the matrix there. And that was, again, something that we could almost do ourselves, but we did use some support from Sales Methods to do that.
Okay. And was it important to you that you actually found a solution that was integrated into Salesforce or native to Salesforce?
That was, I think, one of the things that basically put Sales Methods in and ahead of all of the other tools. Is one, it was independent of a specific sales methodology. It was something that was neutral, that we could sort of use and tailor it to ourselves. And then from a technical point of view, from I guess my point of view, it was natively integrated into Salesforce and didn't require any special software or data being held outside of Salesforce. And that just made it easy that for integration and rollout. So that was, I guess technically it put itself ahead there as well.
Yeah, yeah. And do you say, what would you say were the main sort of criteria? I mean, obviously being native to Salesforce was one, being easy to install, but what was the main driver for actually choosing a solution in the first place?
We were basically, if we look 2 or 3 years ago, our sales force was expanding quite significantly. We have about 25 salespeople around the globe, and it was a way of standardizing how we approached opportunities and being able to communicate the state of that opportunity and how well we knew that opportunity amongst the management team and, say, the CEO, and just giving a consistent approach that you could pick up any opportunity, go through the matrix, and understand how well we knew both the opportunity and, using Org Chart Plus, how well we knew the organization. So, the way it's evolved here is that you can take the export of the PDF of the plan to close, the Org Chart Plus, give that to the CEO as he boards the flight. He should be able to land wherever it is and basically walk into that opportunity or those meetings prepared to understand who's our supporters, how well we know the opportunity, what information we're trying to gather, and he can go into any opportunity around the globe with exactly the same information. So it's that standardization of approach to the opportunity that's really been the benefit, and that's what we were looking for.
Yes, yeah. So it sounds like it's really sort of improved communication and hopefully reduced maybe some duplication and frantic calls at the last minute. So what was the response of the sales team to the tool?
I think it's been great, both from the sales management point of view, in being able to just use it as for them as an aid memoir to go, okay, these are the points we're looking for and we need to understand. And we can see how in successful bids, being able to know this type of information has really helped. And it just gives, from the salesperson, a structure to go and collect that information. So it's not just an unknown exercise of going in and having meetings. It gives a structure to going in, and I need to know this information about your drivers, about your pain points, about your organizational structure, about your buying. I know the RFP process, and that gives them a more focused approach to the meetings and a much better way to collect the information and then present that consistently internally. So it's been really well adopted. We now use it on our pipeline calls. So the head of sales will share his screen on the global pipeline call up the opportunities, and walk through the points as well as the Org Chart Plus. And it just gives a really nice, it's being used in the sales cycle, because there's nothing worse than a tool that is just there as a burden. But this is being used as if you can explain to me how you know the account, then we're going to win. And it's putting that down on paper sometimes is just the thing, the encouragement that the salespeople need to get that last piece of information. The other nice thing about the way we use it is some salespeople use it very lightly. They just fill in the specific matrix questions or the high-level org chart. Others use it to its fullest extent, and being able to schedule their activities, giving them a daily schedule of the things the calls they need to make, the information they need to gather. And so that is, in a professional sales force, very good to see some of them using some of the tools there. But they also have the choice to, if they choose to manage their day elsewhere, they just have the lightness of the process.
Okay, so it sounds like just that flexibility to adapt the tool to your sales process, because I know that you have a very seasoned sales professional team, so you didn't need to give as much guidance perhaps as you would with the younger team, but having that kind of structure is good for everybody, I think.
That's correct. And so, some of our new sort of inside salespeople can use the tool as well, probably in more detail to help schedule their day. The senior ones, they basically use it for the high-level points, but you end up with the same result, that the information is collected and shared. So it does save a lot of time in terms of the communication around the teams, or even at last-minute meetings. On weekends, you don't have to be calling up people. You just call up the opportunity, and all the information is there collected. It's not in files on a shared drive or Word documents. Everything's there.
Good. And I suppose, yeah, I guess it's always good to know, obviously, the positive side of a project, but was there anything unexpected or particularly challenged about implementing the solution, or what kind of experience did you have in terms of the implementation of it?
The implementation was very straightforward. It's basically a click and download from the App Store. We're a very, I guess, a medium-sized company. We don't have or didn't at the time have a dedicated Salesforce administrator. I'm an avid amateur, and I was able to complete the installation and the rollout very effectively. And I think there was one or two things in terms of the rollout that I had questions on. Richard and the technical team at SalesMethods was very responsive in answering my questions. Basically intraday, I had probably one or two questions, and they were able to get back to me with very straightforward answers. The support tools in Salesforce, being able to have them log in and view my environment and basically be able to answer the questions that I had was excellent. So we completed the rollout in a couple of days. We were able to do the upgrades to the questions. I phoned them up and said, this is what I'd like to do. They answered my questions, and again, in a few days, we were able to roll that out. So from a not very technical company, although we sell software, we were able to complete the rollout without involving my IT department at all. There's no change to the end user PC. It's all natively through Salesforce and the web browser, so it went very smoothly. So there wasn't really anything unexpected. It went well.
That's great to hear. So it sounds like from a training perspective, you also didn't need to spend a lot of time training people. You had the kickoff where you were able to launch the approach. Have you had to do much training or coaching afterwards?
We try and do sort of a regular update. So when we selected it, we got it installed at the beginning of January. We had our sales kickoff, and we had a half-day training session, both on the plan to close and the org chart plus. And again, it's a very straightforward user interface. If you understand how a sales methodology works, you can do that. And the ongoing training, when we get new salespeople in, I spend some time going through the tool and what we expect from them. And then we have sort of tried to get a yearly refresher of a 2 or 3 hour session with somebody from SalesMethods, just to level set everybody, how the tool and some new features that have come in and how people use it. One of the nice things is when I do get calls from the salespeople, they are I guess very straightforward, and some people can't believe it is that easy because they're going in, the org chart plus. How do I, get somebody to report to somebody? How do I change the relationship? And I'm like, you drag and drop, and they're going, oh, it's that easy, and I'm like, yes, it's that easy, and then they go, oh, they try it, and then they're surprised. So it is, for a salesperson, not having to learn a new tool, and there's not confusing menus and all of that around the place. It is you log in, and it's very self-evident how you should use the tool. So that from a support requirements, again, I have very limited interaction with the salespeople on it. They just use it and don't bother me too much, which is exactly what I want.
And would you say, just in hindsight, do you think if somebody were implementing the tool and they didn't have a very mature sales methodology, or they were in the process of updating their sales methodology, would you recommend that they kind of get that in place first before implementing the tool, or do you think those could be done side by side?
No, I think it was a great learning experience for us. We went in and used the tool as standard, sort of straight out of the box. And it was in the preceding months, as we embedded the tool in, we realized that this question could be used in a different way, or the very specifics of our market, maybe wording it better to take in the vagaries of how our banks select things, or the process as it's known. So it really was, let's get out, try it, and then make the tweaks. And we probably made probably 4 or 5 modifications to some of the questions, but a lot of them were just we kept a standard. So I think it's get out and try it, and then you can always modify it later once it's bedded in, and you get buy-in from the salespeople rather than waiting and trying to get the process perfect and then implement it. We just found it was really good to just get it out there and then tweak it later, which was perfectly possible.
Okay. No, good. And I suppose, the question would be, if you had to recommend or give any kind of advice to other companies looking to implement the tool, it sounds like you'd say just go for it, just get on with it. Any other advice that you would offer?
I think some of the biggest things in Salesforce is making sure that it's used and is not seen as a burden to the sales users or the sales management. We've tried to emphasize that this is while it might be an additional process, it is to standardize how we look at the opportunities and make sure that it's used both in the pipeline call and both by management, is that there is no other briefing documents, there is no other information, and that our management team should be able to go in at any time and look at the current state. And once you realize that it's being used in that way, it helps you use the online tool as your notes. And it is embedded, it is seen on the pipeline call, it is used by the CEO as he gets on the plane and goes to meetings. And then it's not a filing system of something, the afterthought, it is the working live system that people are expecting the information to be there. So I think that's the advice, is to try and make sure that it's bedded into a process. And I think one of the wonderful things that the head of sales has done is basically calling it up on the pipeline call, showing the org chart blast, and then asking the questions, going, well, if this person's supporting us and he's connected to one of our competitors, what are we doing about that? Or if we have a red area that we don't know the driver for a particular opportunity, then we have to go and find that out. And so it's being used that way, in a positive way, and not just an overhead that the salespeople have to fill out. That's probably the advice that I'd give. Make it active.
Yeah, and I think, that's always one of the challenges with any CRM system. We always say get that, executive buy-in, have it being used regularly in meetings. But the reality is often, it's still a challenge to do that. So I think also the size of your company and maybe your own culture, would make that more possible, perhaps.
It's still it is the buy-in from the senior executives, and we are now 25 salespeople around the globe, and I think we implemented it at the right time. But you do need that. Is it being used, and making sure that the salespeople know it's being used and is of value to the organization.
Yeah. And do you think, from a customer perspective, obviously we've spoken about the internal attitude towards it and how it's being used. Do you think there's a benefit for customers in the long term?
I think from our, I guess in terms of the sales cycle and the implementation there, it's gives the salesperson a very structured way to collect information. So I think there's probably fewer exploratory meetings. So I think that's probably helpful. It tries to get to an understanding of where the opportunity is, and they almost use it as a checklist of kind of going, well, do I understand, being able to bring that. So I think it's probably a more efficient interaction with our customers rather than meandering meetings that might not have a purpose. It definitely helps focus, especially for some of the junior salespeople. Helps them give a structure to their interaction with the clients, and that just makes us look more professional.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And do you think, or what will be the sort of next steps? Do you think that you'll broaden out the use of the tool to other teams, or is it working quite well with just the sales team working?
Well, we've rolled it out to all of our salespeople, and we're now looking at rolling out that the tool to our direct access to the tool to our sales support team. So taking and our marketing team as well. So taking the users probably from the 25 to the 35 to 40 range. Because we share the exports when we're going into meetings so that everybody's on the right page. But it allows the sales support people who might have a more in-depth knowledge of some of the drivers or some of the people to add their comments into the opportunity and to the org chart. So we're finding great value because it just gives another shared view to the team working on the client. We might give that to some of our project managers who end up in the late stages of the opportunity. But so we're evaluating how we broaden the access up to the active information. And so that's really the next steps. It's already used by the management team, the Salesforce very effectively, but it's just increasing that access is where we're going here.
Okay. Good. And I suppose one question that would be important to any company would be, what's the customer service like? You know, once you've implemented it, once you're live and everything's up and running, you know, what happens after that? Are you left to your own devices, or is the support?
No, I think the support from SalesMethods and from Richard and his team has been excellent. I think the one nice thing is that I haven't had the need for any customer service. You know, the system just works. It ticks over. It does what it says on the tin. And when I have had questions, Richard has been very responsive in getting me in touch with the right people at SalesMethod to answer my questions. I have a dedicated account manager that contacts me, and I think I'm, I guess, a dream client. All I'm wondering is more licenses, because we have more salespeople being brought on board. And again, they turn those around in a matter of hours, where I need more licenses because my sales director has hired 2 more people in the United States. I get those licenses and can allocate those, and everything's very straightforward. And they've been great in being able to support us in the training we need. So when we do the kickoff every year, we schedule the time. They give an excellent, tailored course to what we need. So yeah, it's been great from that point of view, getting the service that we need when we need it.
Mm-hmm. And are you using, just out of interest, are you using just the a browser when you're using Salesforce? Are you using it just in the browser, or do you also use it on mobile?
We just use it on the browser. Okay. So we're all browser-based with our laptops. Some of our salespeople use the mobile version, but all of our sort of supports and is based on the desktop browser version.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I think, well, that's probably enough questions from my side. I suppose long term, what do you think the main benefit will have been to Dovetail of using some of the SalesMethods products?
I think the benefit is for us is to be able to focus our efforts on the opportunities that need it. So you have some salespeople that are very good with their opportunities. If they can put down on paper and share what's going on, that's excellent. For the problem opportunities or the opportunities that are going sideways, this allows management to pinpoint and maybe dedicate extra resources, or even involve marketing or our head of strategy into understanding the client better if we don't understand their drivers. If there's, we're trying to understand the RFP process a bit better, we might need to get our legal team involved in understanding how does it work. But that really only comes out when you have a structured way of approaching the opportunity. And as we've grown and moved from 5 salespeople to 25, we're now responding to probably 100 opportunities a year versus the 20. It allows management to allocate those resources more effectively across the opportunities because we have a standardized way. So it's really efficiency. We couldn't scale without a tool like this, and it really has helped out. So I think that's and we've had it for 2.5 years now, and I think we've seen a big difference in the quality of the qualified opportunities and where we put our resources when things are, when it needs to be allocated.
Okay. Well, that's great to have such positive feedback from one of our clients. So thank you very much for taking the time to tell us a little bit more about your use of Plan to Close, Plan to Prosper, and also Org Chart Plus. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah, Vanessa, thank you very much. And yeah, if you have any other questions, I'm always here to explain how we use it in more detail.
Okay, fantastic. All right, well, thanks very much, Trevor, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Great.
Press the broadcast button.